Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we're taking a look back at a ship that was right up there with my most hated ships in the game, including the Smolensk, and that is the Tier 10 Techline Italian heavy cruiser, the Venezia. Now, to be perfectly clear, at the start of this video, I think Venezia is a fantastic cruiser. I think you should all go grind her right now. She's well worth the grind. Her SAP is absolutely insane. And to answer your question as to why this ship was one of the most hated ships in the game, the short answer is, well, Season 9 of Clan Battles. And to further explain that, we got to go through the ship's stats, so stick around for that. And we're also going to talk about how she performs today in the modern meta that is World of Warships, and the short answer is she does quite well. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at her, shall we? So she does sit atop the Italian tech tree, and I'm not going to lie to you, the Italian tech tree up until tier 8 is a bit of a slog. The low tier and mid tier ships aren't that great because they don't really have the volume of fire that the higher tier ships have, and they don't really get the, well, they change this a little bit. They have nerfed the pin angles on SAP on the higher tier cruisers a little bit. They're still quite good, but the lower to mid tier SAP pin angles aren't that great at all. But for tier 8 on up, it's a lot better. It's a much different story at that tier. So taking a look at the Venezia, her armor is actually pretty decent. When she came out, she was one of the best armored cruisers in the game. Not the best, but she was up there. So she gets a 40mm icebreaker bow on her bow. The rest of her bow is 25mm. Her upper belt is 30. Her main belt, well, her torpedo protection outside of her main belt is 40mm. Underneath that 40mm torp belt, you have a 165mm Citadel wall right there. And she also gets almost a complete wraparound stern icebreaker as well. That's 40mm, and then the tidbits on the end are 60mm, and her stern is 25mm as well. Bow and stern deck is 25mm, mid deck is 30mm, and her Citadel is above the waterline, but you do have, again, 165mm there to work with, and that's under that 40mm torpedo bulge, so you do have almost kind of a space armored effect going on there. It's not quite as nutty as the French armor, but it can make the ship pretty difficult to Citadel if it's angled or maneuvering, and we'll talk about its maneuverability here in a minute. Survivability, she has 56,300 hit points. She has a 28% torpedo damage reduction rate. And her guns, which are by far one of the highlights of this ship, and probably the biggest highlight of this ship, you get 15 203mm guns that reload in 21 seconds. They also 180 in 22.4 seconds, so they're pretty nice. And this is with my commander build on my Venezia, which I'll throw up here so you guys can see what I'm running. And they also have a maximum dispersion of 158 meters and a maximum range of 19.9 kilometers with the range module. And like I mentioned at the start of this video, she does get SAP. And oh my god, SAP is great, as we all know today. But this was the first full tech line of ships that had SAP equipped. And boy, man, like, you can go back and watch my reviews of the mid-tier Italian cruisers that I had managed to get my hands on in the early access event. I was pretty much under the impression that, like, yeah, it's kind of nice that it hits pretty decently well, but you can't start fires or anything like that, because again, the mid to lower tier Italian cruisers aren't that great. But once you hit that tier 8 and go from tier 8 on up, oh my god, it starts to get nutty, because again of the improved pin angles you start to pick up at tier 8 plus. But anyway, so SAP does a maximum of 5,200 damage per shell. It can pin 54mm of armor, and they come out the tubes at 950 meters a second. Now her AP does a maximum damage of 4,800 and comes out the tubes at 910 meters a second. The general rule with Venezia or any ship with SAP, if you can't Citadel it, like if you know for sure when you click the mouse that you're not going to Citadel it, keep SAP loaded. But if you know 125% for sure that when you click your mouse to fire, you're going to Citadel the ship, then load AP. Because, yes, while the SAP does have a higher maximum damage, that is with Citadel hits, which, unless you're fighting something that's ridiculously thinly armored. You aren't going to really be citadeling it with sap because of the nature of sap. Sap's basically, it's coded as HE with like a negative 10% fire chance. So it functions the same way. It doesn't really pin that much into the ship's armor model, but of course it does do a massive amount of alpha damage too. But AP, of course, can fully pin, hit the citadel. So of course, when you got 15 AP shells going at a target, doing 4,800 maximum damage, that of course will do more damage citadeling a target than sap will. But basically, like 90% of the time, you're going to be firing sap in Venezia, and it's going to do quite well for you. So you have some very fast shells here too, going 950 meters a second out of the barrels, and they also have relatively flat arcs, which means that this cruiser is fantastic at deleting destroyers. It's not uncommon for Venezias to dev strike destroyers almost from full health to dead. Essentially, if a destroyer is like under 10%, well, has 10% of its health gone, you're within complete blappage range of the Venezia, especially a Venezia player with good aim. So if you see a Venezia on your side of the map, DD players, just run. It's not worth, definitely not worth the risk to you. She also gets torpedoes too. She gets 2x3 533mm torps. They have a range of 13.5 kilometers. They do a maximum damage of 13,900. They travel at 56 knots, and they're spotted from 1.1 kilometer away. They're not very fast torps. They're great for just tossing down a channel that you think a ship might be pushing up in a couple of minutes, and you'll be surprised how many of these torps will actually connect. Or in a pinch, you can do some torpedo jousting if you need to do so. AA, she has short range Italian AA. It's not that great. I mean, it's Italian AA, 4.5 kilometer maximum. I'm sorry, 4.6 kilometer maximum range. The Soviet CVs, of course, don't even really care about your AA at all. Maneuverability, she's fast and she is nimble, and this is after she was nerfed too. God, this ship's nuts. So she goes 38.4 knots. That's with the speed flag equipped. She has a maximum turning circle radius of 760 meters, and she has a rudder shift time with the rudder module on of 10.9 seconds. You take that off, it's 12.4 seconds. So even with the rudder module off, she's still quite a zippy ship when she comes to turning. And this is after she got nerfed too. It used to be, I think, 10.5 seconds flat before she was nerfed. Concealment with the module and the commander skill, she can get down to 12.4 kilometers. And her other main strength comes in her consumables. She gets crawling smoke. Well, exhaust smoke, my bad. And this is the smoke screens that will keep up with you as fast as you're going. And she has an action time on this consumable of 44 seconds. The smoke disperses in 10 seconds, so you can kind of push it to 50-ish seconds if you want to sit in your smoke afterwards, which is very conveniently the time it takes to cap a cap in competitive and clan battles. It has a radius of 0.51 kilometers. It reloads in 171 seconds, and you get 3 charges of that with the superintendent skill on your commander. So, put all this... Oh, and she does get a heal too, and you get your choice of fighter or spotter. The heal repairs 337 hit points per second. It is active for 28 seconds, 76 second reload time, and you get 4 charges of those, again with superintendent, 5 charges of spotter or fighter, and then her damage con is active for 5 seconds, reloads in 57 seconds. So you put all this together, you have a ship that can easily do around 15k to 18k, sometimes even 20k a salvo to ships like battleships with large superstructures, cruisers that aren't paying attention, or, again, absolutely just obliterate destroyers. On top of that, she's fast, nimble, she has exhaust smoke, which made her perfect for Season 9 of Clan Battles. For those of you that went around for Season 9 of Clan Battles, this is the first season where, since the CV rework, CVs were allowed into Clan Battles. And you can imagine the mess that it was dealing with the unbalanced mess that was CVs for the first year after the CV rework. But, lo and behold, the Italian cruisers had just been released, and here's a ship that has a consumable that tells the carrier to screw off because you can't see me anymore once I'm in smokescreen. And it's also conveniently, the same duration as the cap time in clan battles. So you had Venezias that were basically being destroyers, going to the cap, popping their smoke generator, capping, and then running away. And they were so nimble and fast that, yeah, they can definitely do that. And you should see me do something similar in the battle going on in the back. I use this to go snag a couple of buffs in this arms race battle that I'm in. And you can also imagine, too, this is back before they had limits on ships. This is one of the reasons why we have limits on ships in clan battles today. It was 1 Hawk crew normally, and then 6 Venezia. So imagine dealing with 6 Venezias in any ship. With SAP. With her old pin angles. They nerfed her pin angles on her SAP. They were at a 75 degree pin angle, and then they reduced it down to 70 now. So, yeah. Imagine dealing with those ricochet angles. And it used to be 85 back when she was in testing, which was absolutely just freaking nuts. But thankfully they made that decision before they released her out in full. So, needless to say, today she's still a very good ship, as you can tell by this match in the background. She's still very nimble. I mean, even after the nerf to her rudder shift time, you still have a 10.4 second rudder shift time with the module. You still have the 15 guns with SAP, with very good SAP, that, as you should be seeing in the background, still pack one hell of a punch. Still absolutely one of the best cruisers for dealing with destroyers, and her armor scheme is still very, very, very nice, especially with how agile this ship is. And that 40mm icebreaker bow allows you to sometimes, if you can angle properly or bait the enemy battleship into shooting you there, bounce battleship shells like it's nobody's business. It's still a great cruiser. Smoke exhaust, exhaust smoke is absolutely an exceptionally strong consumable to have on this ship, because again, it allows you to simply leave a situation you don't want to be in, or in case of Season 9 of clan battles, give you a little bit of protection from the CVs, because that's just a very good CV player. They'll really struggle to drop you when they can't see your ship anymore. So for a very long time in clan battles, that was the meta, and dealing with that meta day in and day out trying to play clan battles was absolutely one of the most excruciatingly painful times in my time with World of Warships, dealing with these smoke clouds that were chunking you for like 15k, 16k, sometimes 20k at once. It was terrible. I hated the ship. Again, in random battles mode, it's perfectly fine, and with a ship limitation mechanic now in clan battle, she's perfectly fine there too. But it's also really interesting to note that it was after that season of clan battles that Venezia got her nerfs. Wargaming really looks at competitive gameplay to see what ships need to be nerfed and buffed, and that's also why the Petropavlovsk has been getting the nerf hammer pretty hard here recently, because that's how prevalent she's been in competitive recently. Everyone's taking 2 Petros or however many of the same ships that are allowed into game mode. They're taking that maxed out with Petros because of how good the ship is, and that's why she's been nerfed so much recently. But yes, Venezia, absolutely a ship I'd recommend you guys grind. She's still fantastic. SAP is still absolutely nuts, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon, so one I would highly recommend you guys grind out. So that's my 2 cents on the Venezia, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. On our way to 40,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday and have a wonderful Memorial Day. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.